Alex asked me to do a video about Surrey detached homes surpassing Coquitlam in benchmark price. And I thought it was very interesting, and I'm going to take a look. And I'm going to look and show you if that is indeed the case, right after I ask you to please subscribe to the channel if you would like to stay up to date on my marketplace here in Surrey, BC and the Fraser Valley. If you learn anything at all here today, or if you like this type of content, please make sure to give this video a thumbs up. That is the best way for you to help me get this information out to other people. And if you need your own personalized help getting in or out of the real estate market here in Surrey, BC, please book a call with me right down below in the description right now. All right, Alex, you said as of today, the benchmark price in Surrey detached homes has surpassed Coquitlam, and I can't believe that. So here's a little bit of background. Coquitlam and basically everything north and west of the Fraser River in the Fraser Valley and Lower Mainland area is more expensive than Surrey, right? The closer you get to Vancouver, the more expensive things are. And then as you go out into the valley and end up in either Chilliwack or Hope, things get cheaper and cheaper and cheaper. So I'm going to take a look right now and hop into Stats Center. Fraser Valley Real Estate Board putting out some amazing stats, but Coquitlam is not in the Fraser Valley Real Estate Board. So let me just show you how this works. Sorry to tell you, this is a private site and you are not allowed access, but let me dive into it here. So I'm going to type in Surrey, and if you don't already know, Surrey combined is the category for City of Surrey. And then I'm going to type in Coquitlam, and we pick up Coquitlam, and look at this. Now this is HPI, which is Home Price Index, all property types, and look at this. Surrey did indeed last October, well, in October, Surrey passed Coquitlam for overall pricing. Coquitlam is sitting at 1.1227 and Surrey last month 1.126, and then just again in November the spread comes to almost, well, it's about $25,000. So it appears that Alex is right and Surrey has finally arrived. It is the new downtown that everybody is saying it was going to be. So that is really, really cool. But let's go back to Alex's comment here, and he says that the detached market passed Coquitlam. So let's pop in here and take a look at the detached market. And indeed, unfortunately, Alex, I'm going to say that you are currently not correct. The detached market is still sitting $20,000 higher in Coquitlam than it is in Surrey. But the really interesting thing that Alex has pointed out for us here is look at this gap is almost very similar. And then since the beginning of 2021, look at how that gap just narrows. So benchmark price, we have surpassed in a detached. Now let's look at townhomes. Well, there's a big gap. In townhomes, Surrey is still well under, more than $120,000 lower. And then what about apartments? Well, the gap is even bigger there. So here's where this leads me. How can the benchmark price for all asset classes in Surrey be higher than each individual class where Coquitlam is still the highest? Well, what you have to know about benchmark price is it is an average, and you can't really consider benchmark price, in my opinion, when you look at all asset classes, because what benchmark price does is it takes an average home in that area and applies a mathematical equation to it. Well, you can't have an average home in 3 different asset classes. So I don't think this information is correct. But what I do want to do is pop back into it here. And let's go back and look now at average sale over the last little bit. Now, personally, I do not like average sales because they get very spiky, right? They spike each month as opposed to benchmark, which is a bit more of a rolling number. You'll see that in Coquitlam apartments, the gap is still absolutely massive. Coquitlam, believe it or not, Coquitlam townhouses are actually taking off even faster, it looks like, than Surrey townhouses. Let's go back into detached and wait a minute. You might be right here, Alex. Let's take a look. Coquitlam detached average price as of September was only $10,000 higher than Surrey. In October, it was, look at that. This is where he is 100% correct. Detached average price in Surrey in October was a couple $1,000 more than Coquitlam. I don't believe it, but things look like they're starting to return back to normal, so it could just be an offset month. Coquitlam is back now up more than $25,000, almost $30,000 higher. But now that we're looking at the whole market, so let's go to all property types. I'm going to go back and say that, look at this. Yes, on average, all property types considered, Surrey is now higher in average pricing month to month, which I think is just crazy. I didn't even realize it was flirting with Coquitlam all the way back since April of last year. And now what this led me to consider is I'm going to take a look at Langley as well. So let's get Langley in the loop here. And I also want to look at Richmond to see where we are. Richmond, that doesn't work. Come on, Steve, learn how to spell. Richmond. All right, so I'm going to narrow this down to only 1 year so we can take a little bit better look. Now, this is all property types, every single property type. And back here in January of 2020, let's take a look. Richmond was obviously at the top at 930, being the closest into town. Langley was the lowest, being furthest out in the valley. Everything seemed right. January of 2020, everything seemed totally right and normal in the world. But let's fast forward here into November, just last month. If I'm looking at this, Coquitlam is actually now the lowest price out of these cities. Then we have Surrey. Believe it or not, Langley is now the most expensive, followed by Richmond. So now it goes Langley, the one furthest out in the valley, is now the highest, then Richmond, then Surrey, then Coquitlam. Now this is all asset classes in average sales. What's going to skew this a little bit? Well, it's probably going to be the fact that Langley has a lot more acreages. There's a lot more farms. There's a lot more larger parcels of land. But this could be a result of moving further out into the valley and getting more land for your money. However, it doesn't appear that that's happening anymore. But let's dive back into it. Let's look at apartments and see if all is right in the world. Now, again, this is average price we're looking at, so this is strictly a mathematical equation. Back in January, January of 2020, mind you, Richmond was at $596, followed by Coquitlam, where you would expect it to be. In apartments, Langley was actually more expensive than Surrey. I feel that that's usually driven by the downtown Wally core and the fact that the city of Surrey has some very small, very affordable apartments. And now let's fast forward until today in apartments. And it looks like Coquitlam is now at the top. Richmond is lower than that. Langley is quite high, and Surrey is still the most affordable place to buy an apartment as per average price. Looking at townhouses, it was Richmond leading the way, followed by Coquitlam, as we suspected. City of Surrey, this is much more realistic of how we think of it because this is geographically correct. And we're going to fast forward here to just this last month. Richmond in townhouses still leading the way, followed by Coquitlam, which we would expect. But Langley has now surpassed Surrey in townhouses, and at the same time, pop into the detached market, and 1.16. Well, you would expect. Okay, this is perfect. This is again geographical. So everything before the pandemic was very geographically correct. We're gonna hop up until today. The average price in Richmond is almost 2.2 million. The average price in Coquitlam is now 1.8. The average price in Surrey is 1.77, and the average price is 1.6. So believe it or not, the detached market, if you only look at average prices, has normalized, at least geographically. Maybe not otherwise. It's crazy prices. I can't believe the increases we've seen. But it looks like maybe we're starting to see that return back to normal, at least in the detached market. So there you go, Alex. Thanks for pointing it out. I love the video recommendations or topics you'd like me to cover. So comment down below. If you need to book a call with me, please do so right down below in the description. Make sure you hit the like button and subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you in a couple of days.